It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
We are live in Central Texas on the first sunny day in what feels like a very long time. 21st floor of the Alico building. We are live at the Rogue Media Network. The Pete Sousa Show today is brought to you by, as always, Slovacics. That's what you call presenting sponsor. And if you go to Slovacics and you like kolaches, you can get them. Go to wherever you're headed, present them to the people you're going to see, and make everybody happy. Slovacics, you can find it in West, right off of I-35. I always say, too, for somebody like me who's a bit of a sports nerd, they have great low-key, or no, I should say they have low-key great sports memorabilia and sports gear. Go to Slovacics, ask for Ray, tell him Pete sent you, and then I'll have Ray mad at me because he's always busy at work over there. Great to have you guys today. We are busy. Man, I hate to be the cliche sports guy that has a show talking about sports, but it is a packed Friday today. We've got so much going on the heels of the NFL opener. We're going to open up the phone lines, and we're going to take some calls there. We'll see what y'all have to say, and after that, we'll talk a little bit about what's going on with the Eagles and Packers tonight. We're going to start with the NFL. And obviously, the NFL got it right. I mean, they got it right a long time ago when they started opening up with these Thursday night games with their Sunday night crew. It was a game where I started to give up on it a little bit. I felt like, okay, Kansas City is – because they have the Ravens number. The Ravens right now, by the way, 1 of 5 against Patrick Mahomes, including the playoffs, of course, last year's AFC Championship game. So it's becoming a situation now you're feeling, if you're Lamar Jackson, in my experience and following sports and having any experience around any game, you do get mentally to a here we go again type situation. But before we go forward and talk about the Ravens and the Chiefs and their likelihood of experiencing a successful season as this thing plays out, we want to go back to last night. I talked about it was a game that I sort of almost gave up on because I felt like the Chiefs were going to pull away. It just had that type of vibe to it. And then the Ravens come storming back. A phenomenal series of plays towards the end. It's an ending that if you handed it to a studio as a screenwriter, that they really might say, hey, take it back. It seems like it's a little bit of a stretch. This is reality. Adam Schefter afterwards tweeted about it and said, the best reality television out there. It is sports. Let's take a look at last night's highlights. We will start late here. Zach Burke on the Wheels of Steel has us going. You see Lamar Jackson taking the field. Now, this is it for the Ravens. They're on their own 25-yard line. Short pass, likely out of bounds, short of the 40-yard line, but he did get out of bounds, about 90 seconds left. Next play, Lamar Jackson steps up down the field. You couldn't throw it any better than that. Bateman catches it. He is in bounds, so the clock continues to run. You think right now with 30 seconds left, Baltimore's in pretty good shape. Well, Lamar Jackson would have something to say about that. Dancing right here, dropping it off, left side, out of reach. Probably a throw he wishes he could have back. This is a throw he definitely wishes he could have back. Stepping up in the pocket. There's Zay Flowers. Ball is nowhere near him. Let's let Mike Tirico.
He's rushed 4. Lamar trying to make magic happen. Throw it in zone. Likely 2 feet down. Yes! Touchdown! What a play! Isaiah Likely! Going for 2 and the wind.
Let's make sure.
Oh!
Very close.
Oh!
Is there enough to overturn?
Oh, that's on. That's on the line, isn't it? I think.
Terry McCauley's going to have to make this call, but it looks like that toe's on the line, Terry.
I agree completely. The right toe's on the line. It's out of bounds. This is going to be reversed to an incomplete pass.
Oh, my goodness.
That's a toe. By a toe, the opener looks like it'll go to the Chiefs because this will be game over. Showing the replay up on the big screen now that you're watching here at home. Unbelievable look down the line there. Gives you that definitive look you're looking for.
The runner's toe hit out of bounds. It's an incomplete pass. The game is over. Kansas City has won.
27-20. The Chiefs win on opening night.
And one of the things I like to drop in, and it's not like by no means am I the authority on calling any kind of game, but I do have a little insight just because of the work that I do, doing play-by-play. Mike Tirico did such a magnificent job there. As I've been taught, and just watching guys like him for most of my life and talking to mentors of mine, you really do watch that back judge. And when that back judge goes up and says touchdown, it's a touchdown on the field. And then you look at the replay and you take it from there. But as I have been taught, again, and Mike Tirico did it beautifully, you go all in with what the call on the field is. You wait on the official. That back judge raises his hands. That's a touchdown. You go with that. And then you saw how smooth Tirico was, where you can tell when somebody is still full of confidence and still throwing 150 miles an hour like Mike Tirico does, where he's just like, oh, maybe it's out. It was just, that is the magic of being an outstanding broadcaster. He right away went into, okay, is it in? Is it out? And he hands the keys off to Collinsworth. And of course, we get to hear Collinsworth being, oh, I don't know, Mike. And you feel like he's just going to be like, boy, do you just love football? Makes you want to just kiss somebody. He's so interesting when he gets going. Collinsworth, it's like his love affair with the game of football was on display once again last night. And you gotta love Chris Collinsworth. When I think about Collinsworth, when I was watching last night, going through Joe Buck's book this summer, of course I listened to it. I didn't read it, but he talks about his relationship with Chris Collinsworth. And early on in Collinsworth's career, calling games, not too early, but early in Troy Aikman's career, calling games for Fox, it was Joe Buck, Chris Collinsworth, and Troy Aikman. And Joe Buck said, and these are his words, not mine, and this is paraphrasing from his book, basically like, you know, in 20, 30 years, Chris Collinsworth will be known as a great broadcaster, and Troy Aikman will still be known for his work as a football player. And he said that was on display sometimes in the booth. Like Collinsworth always felt like he needed to get his point across, whereas a guy like Aikman was a little more comfortable, you know, saying what he thought had happened or giving his own context or backstory to it and then letting it go from there. But Collinsworth, and I think Collinsworth has really, even over the past few years, lightened up in his maybe I don't feel like he's ever pressing anymore. I do feel like he's just relaxing, having fun, and you feel it right there. Oh, Mike, I don't know. And, you know, I think one thing you can look at too at the end of that game, when you talk about the actual game and Lamar Jackson, you know, missing a couple of critical throws down the stretch. That's a bummer for Lamar Jackson. It's a bummer for Baltimore fans because it's just a reminder. I mean, until you see otherwise in those huge moments, it's really hard to move past some of the baggage that you start to collect over almost type of situations with Lamar Jackson. And now, like we talked about off the top, to go back to that, he's 1-5 against Pat Mahomes with the rest of his team, and again, including the playoffs. And you start to feel like, man, these guys have our number. And you saw last night the way that Lamar Jackson was playing. He had over 100 yards running the football, and he was actually going down, lowering his shoulder into guys when he was trying to make plays in the game and get extra yards, where normally a quarterback will duck out of bounds. That's what you'll want to do if you're a quarterback, especially a franchise quarterback making the kind of money he is. You can't ever, as a fan of football and someone who loves the contact but understands why there's been limitations on it today, I love that when you see a guy like Lamar Jackson just going all the way until the whistle blows. Everybody used to get on Franco Harris's ass for dancing out of bounds when a guy like Walter Payton will be looking for the next defender to punish. When you're a quarterback, especially nowadays, you shouldn't be doing that, right? That's way above my pay grade. But when you talk about quarterbacks in contact, here was a play that I really did like the result, and it was something that led to a lot of controversy. And really late in the game, this was one of those deals where it's like Rocky IV, when Rocky and Drago, like Rocky gets back into the game or back into the fight, and they mix it up, right? They do it in Rocky II as well. And everybody jumps in the ring, and they got to separate them, and you can feel the energy and you feel the tension building and building where, you know, the underdog, in this case last night, it's the Ravens. They're saying, I'm not going to go anywhere. Well, let's take a look at this Raekwon Smith incident, or well, not incident, a play with Patrick Mahomes. And then we'll hear what I think about it and my experience with it last night. But this was a play that lent itself to the
Kelsey time. Mahomes faked it to him. Going to run it and get it. First down. And hit on the sideline. No flag thrown that I see. As the pushing and shoving and the angst between the two sides continues. Everybody gets back to their huddle. Here's what started it all. Raekwon Smith.
Looked like contact outside the white. I mean, inside the white, whatever, out of bounds.
He's there. What are you going to do? We were talking about it over here. We're getting fiber in the building. We're getting fiber in the building soon. And Cam said it's not like the fiber that went through him last night. He didn't say that. No, but we are getting fiber in here soon. So we won't have issues like that. But you all remember it. You saw it. I thought I set it up beautifully, only to have a bum, 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 bum. But it was extremely exciting last night, and the game was at a fever pitch. After that no call on Roquan Smith, where a lot of people felt like it was a late hit, I was shocked that the officials did not call it a late hit. We're talking about the Michael Jordan of the NFL, somebody who you really want to protect. I thought that it was not a late hit. I thought that Smith touched his shoulders with both of his hands. I really believe he tried to avoid a late hit. There was no contact to the head or nothing ugly. I felt like the officials did a wonderful job, and I thought that was a window into just how fast the game moves. And in moments like that, officials really have to show off their best skill set, which is the ability, once and for all, to be decisive, but two, to see exactly what's playing out in front of them at literally warp speed. Or I guess not literally warp speed, but what feels like warp speed. And 95% of the time they got it right. They get it right. I feel like they did get it right last night. After the game, Roquan Smith said that Patrick Mahomes flopped. I don't think he flopped either, but I don't think it was a late hit. And it was awesome, too, because there was a lot of back and forth after that that really lent itself to what went on down the stretch, and sort of just something to build on with these two teams, as it would be so cool if they can meet again in the playoffs, and would be even cooler, right, if they can meet in the AFC Championship. But like we talked about, 1-5 are the Ravens wrapping up their first week of the NFL season. 1-5 against the Chiefs so far. That includes the playoffs, like I said, but also 0-1 on the season. Obviously, the Chiefs go to 1-0. Call me Tex Schramm. This is one of the rare occasions that I'll pat myself on the back. I think in not Mr. Fantasy, but I did draft Xavier Worthy in the 10th or 11th round of my fantasy football draft. I'm always amazed. People talk, another guy, Derrick Henry, right? He was atop everybody's draft, fantasy draft list. I think we get those wrong a lot. And the more and more I see it, we see some of these guys who are definite number ones in the fantasy world disappointing. And we see guys like Xavier Worthy. To me, that was a no-brainer. Not like I went in there with a spreadsheet and a plan, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to grab Xavier Worthy late. It was one of those things when I was in Philadelphia this summer doing a little vacay, sitting next to my mom. I was looking on my computer while I was doing my draft, and I was like, Xavier Worthy? Yeah, I'm taking him. He ran a 4.2 in the combine, and he's with the Chiefs, or at the combine. That was a record, by the way, running that at the combine. And he was always so fun to watch at Texas. You could almost say he might have been a little bit of a disappointment at Texas because he was just such a high-profile recruit. Cam Stewart off the air. Cam, what do you think? Or off camera? Yes or no? Disappointment? Yes, he was a disappointment. Maybe not. Zach, was he a disappointment? Zach says no. Okay, all right. Well, and that's the reason why the Chiefs scooped him up then when they did. And you thought when you saw the Chiefs take him after Buffalo missed him, you were like, man, what are the Bills doing? Anyways, he caught 2 passes last night, including one for a 35-yard touchdown. His first touch of his NFL career, he went sailing into the end zone. That was a 21-yard touchdown on a reverse. And Patrick Mahomes talked about after the game the fact that not only was he so effective in the box score and in changing the temperature on the game, but he also allowed other receivers to get open for Kansas City. He talked about the fact that you saw Jason Kelce get wide open. You saw Noah Gray getting open, and you saw other players too. Rice was also another guy who was extremely effective. And after the game, Mahomes was quick to credit Worthy and literally just his presence on the field that opened the door to make some of that stuff happen. We moved to Friday Night Football. Now, this is happening in Brazil. I cannot wait. Eagles and Packers tonight. The big story, and this actually has some Texas roots, it's going to be the first opportunity, and I call it an opportunity because I believe this is where I can turn into a bit of a homer. Jalen Hurts is just one of the ultimate weapons in the NFL, and I think that this is going to be a year for him to remind people of just how good he is. The issue at hand is his relationship with Nick Sirianni. Kellen Moore, former Cowboys offensive coordinator, he is now tasked with the job of navigating that relationship between Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, which was there is no team. I've been rooting for the Eagles for a very long time. I hadn't remember an NFL team, an Eagles team, let alone an NFL team, cratering the way that the Eagles did last season, to the point that we talk here about Baylor and that wide zone offense they had last year and losing 7 of 8 games at home being a tough watch. The Philadelphia Eagles, for me last year, were a very tough watch. When they played that final game against the Buccaneers in the wild card game in Tampa, it was I didn't bet on the game or say to people, hey, this is the lock of the century. But as a fan, I was full of apathy, which is the last place you want your fan base to be, particularly when your team is in the playoffs. But I mean, that's how I felt about the Eagles last year because of how poorly they played down the stretch. I always have a little bit of, okay, let's see what they can pull out of their sleeve, right? Let's see if they have any magic. I hold on to a little bit of that, but it was not there at the end of the season last year, especially in that last game against Tampa Bay, which they lost, which ended a miserable finish to the season. We move back to this season. Diana Rossini reporting about the Eagles in the preseason. This is like a window into the relationship. I wanted to be able to read this exactly between Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. This was during training camp. And she said, we've seen Jalen Hurts on the sideline with Nick Sirianni, and they're not going at one another. This is what she wrote in camp. But there's definitely a difference in personality. The way I would describe it, the relationship is still a work in progress. Last year, there was some disconnect between them due to their personalities. Nick, we've seen, is a very emotional guy. Jalen is a very private guy. You don't all have to be the same, but you do have to be on the same page when it comes to what you want to do on offense. That is a Cliff's Notes version of somebody tiptoeing around what I feel like has got to be a terrible relationship. The fact that they're not arguing openly at camp, and I don't think Jalen Hurts is the kind of guy who's going to be arguing with people in an open setting. But the fact that that's even on the table lets you know that there was certainly trouble last year, and that was certainly a relationship that had become frayed. I'll be so interested to see how things go this year because, again, we talk about Kellen Moore coming on board, being able to be not only a buffer, but hopefully a conduit to success offensively for the Eagles. Jalen Hurts says 95% of the playbook is new. He's already been quoted as saying, again, I love to use the term, but the truth is, again, I'm paraphrasing, but he talked about the fact that he wants to be able to digest the entire playbook and in his own way, run it the way that Jalen Hurts likes to run an offense. And I feel like Jalen Hurts is the guy, because of his demeanor and his leadership ability, that can take you to a Super Bowl. I think that there are certainly things in his game that lack. And I don't think, as exciting as he is, and as, you know, he's explosive as a quarterback, but I don't think he's a guy that you want to say, okay, this is our Patrick Mahomes. The whole team is going to be built around him. And even you see the Chiefs, they have so many weapons, but I think those weapons are so successful on account of who Patrick Mahomes has become. But I believe Jalen Hurts can take you over the finish line, even if he has to take on somewhat of a caretaker role. I feel like he does have the decision-making skills to be that guy. The Eagles with Saquon Barkley this year. As a fan, I am excited to say the very least. I saw Roger Goodell. He was talking to the crew on Good Morning Football this morning. He was live in Brazil, and he mentioned getting on the plane from, and this will make a lot of people want to throw up, but he said getting on the plane from New York to Brazil, he said the moment they finished with the announcements on the flight, there was a fly, Eagles fly. People were saying, he said the plane was full of Eagles fans. And if anybody knows Eagles fans, and certainly a lot of folks do here, they can be a little bit, well, look, we travel well. Let's put it that way. The Eagles are a 2.5-point underdog, the 2.5-point favorite against the Packers. Now, these are two teams that at the end of last year were going in exact opposite directions. I feel like the Eagles with Saquon, and I think they'll get it done. I think they'll win the game. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be such an interesting environment to watch these guys play in. When you think about the NFL and games that they play overseas, particularly to start the season, they're usually pretty bad games on paper. This is a great game. And I think it's pretty cool to see the league really putting its best foot forward overseas. And with that best foot forward comes, again, watching the NFL Network this morning, Jane Slater, Dallas, Texas native, was out there reporting live from Sao Paulo for the NFL Network. I just want to say, huge Jane Slater fan. I feel like she always gets it done. She gets great reports. She has great rapport with people in the Cowboys front office. She's constantly delivering good intel and information as a result of her sources that are always close to situations she's reporting on. She's, again, I read a quote from Diana Rossini. I think I love reporters like that. Adam Schefter, people who are, I mean, Schefter is obviously elite in that regard, but people that are sourced up and are telling you stuff, not what they think or not what they heard secondhand, but what they heard. I love that. And, Slater was kind of delivering a little bit of fluff this morning. She talked about the fact that fans are getting to experience the full Brazil experience, but the Packers and the Eagles have not been, which is probably a good sign for both teams heading into this evening. Last thing on the docket as we finish up this first segment, I have a game tonight, a game tomorrow, and it's University of North Texas for versus Stephen F. Austin for ESPN. Stephen F. Austin, obviously an FCS team, UNT in Denton. That's where the game will be played. I'm giving you a reason to watch. We're going to make this quick. Chandler Morris, former TCU quarterback out of Highland Park, was obviously at Oklahoma first before TCU. He goes to TCU. He suffers setbacks on and off the field, but mostly on the field, knee trouble specifically. 2 times he was the definitive starter there, and he lost that role because of injury. And in a Dallas Morning News article just about a week and a half ago, he talked about how he despised football at that point because of all the disappointment that it had dealt him. I watched the game last week that North Texas won going away against South Alabama, and he was on fire, and he was playing so loose, running around, throwing the ball like Brett Favre. Really, I mean, he was making kind of Brett Favre-esque type plays, and I say that not because he's the next Brett Favre, but because that's a real reflection of someone who is out there gunslinging, playing loose. I'm so looking forward to watching him tomorrow night. And for Baylor fans who might be watching, if you are curious as to where star-crossed Quaylon Jones ended up or where Jordan Neighbors ended up, well, they both ended up 160 miles away from Waco in Nacogdoches. They are playing for Stephen F. Austin. The coach of Stephen F. Austin told us yesterday, Coach Colby Carthel, that Jordan Neighbors, there are guys who are track fast and there are guys who are football fast, and Jordan Neighbors is both. And I look to see him hopefully get on the act tomorrow if you're a Jordan Neighbors fan. He can fly, so I look forward to seeing him fly maybe tomorrow, but look forward to talking. So we got a couple things coming up. We're going to celebrate Mike and the Mad Dog at 35 years. We'll have Cam Stewart sitting in for some of that. And then we're going to wrap the show up with a Rogue Media Survivor Pool. We're going to take it from wire to wire. You know what a Survivor Pool is. Mike Hamilton didn't. I actually had to explain it to him, which means that we're going to take his money. But we'll be back after this. The Pete Sousa Show rolls on.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Mike Hamilton on the wheels of steel here up at the Rogue Media Network. We now welcome in Cam Stewart. Cam, well, it's a football Friday, and you have a football game tonight. China Spring. Ooh, it's in Bastrop.
Yeah, just outside the great capital of Austin.
And who is going to win that game? You're calling it, so you don't have to say. You don't have to say.
Thank you.
Okay.
I am calling it.
Yeah, okay.
This is tough. Bastrop has got Bastrop's pretty school, the 5A, China Spring's 4A, and Bastrop has two big-time prospects, including the quarterback.
Oh, really?
Not, what you like to see as opposing commentator. I mean, we are objectively first. And they have got a quarterback who's a sophomore. He's got offers from A&M, Oregon, Baylor.
Wow.
And they've got a big old defensive tackle who's got offers from Notre Dame, A&M, UT, Baylor. It could be. That's stressing me out.
Yeah. Well, this is stressing me out right now. What's going on with Mike right now is stressing me out. But that's fine. We can just see me. I mean, if we can't see Cam, like life definitely goes on. But we. Ooh. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, again, I mentioned this, and this struck me this morning. I was so excited about it. When I was going through my feed, I saw that 35 years ago, I think it was, Mike, I think that's excellent. I think 35 years ago, I think 30 here it goes. I feel it. All right, 35 years ago, Mike and the Mad Dog premiered on WFAN. And thanks, Mike. Dude, can you believe this? We're all up here having fun.
Just a couple of guys.
Just to come and Mike, this is Mike's baby. I talked about it yesterday. The heartbeat of Rogue Media. Mike, you want to talk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I mean,
you got?
really.
Yeah, but I mean, Zach had to step out for a second.
Oh no!
And
Now I'm in the
so-
line of fire.
And so I didn't know that Cam was coming into the show, so we had to get him on there, and
Here we
everything's
are.
good now.
Everything's set up.
It's a
right?
live show. It's a live show, everybody.
Yeah, we
Welcome
are.
to Friday.
So we're talking about Mike and the Mad Dog. Thank you very much, Mike Hamilton. Although you and him could maybe be Mike and the Mad Dog, but that's another life. So what are your experiences? So Mike and the Mad Dog, I'll talk about my experience first. I grew up outside of Philadelphia, but it was clear to me before, probably around, 10, he started to show up on the NFL Today. Previous to that, he was on, actually, I don't know if he was ever on camera on the NFL Today. He started on the college football show with Brent Musburger, where he would give insight and inside information. So I was familiar to him. I remember the first, I was with my friend Jesse Shute, and his dad was a gambler. And Mr. Shute, I remember we were watching like college football preview on CBS, and he's like, "What does Mike Francesa know? Like, who the hell is this guy?" Well, and that's when he kind of came onto my radar. And then as I started to grow old being 12 years old, he ended up on WFAM with the Mad Dog. And if I could get the signal just right, I could hear those guys being in Philadelphia. Obviously impactful. People would say they started sports talk radio. The success of it. Well, okay, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, look, it started in Philadelphia. It's 610 WIP. Yeah. Do you think they were fraudsters? I could okay, but you don't think they were as good as
No.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I know them because I'm a radio sick.
Yeah.
Sports radio sick. Most people my age and not growing up in New York.
Who is the best two-man team in sports radio history? Felger and Maz or whatever?
I mean,
Oh, boy.
they're not number one, but Yeah, it's probably Mike Matt.
I mean,
Mosley and myself.
Matt Mosley and Cam Stewart,
Yeah.
who you can hear today on the Mosley Show because you'll be getting ready for your football
Yeah.
game, which you can see on the Rogue Media YouTube page, right? Yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
China spring football.
yeah. It's a big deal. People are fired up.
Look who led the way.
I think people are so into China spring football. As long as the connection doesn't go down, they won't care
Love it, man.
if you get it right.
And we get so many views because we do a really good job.
Yeah.
And, we get a lot of listener views. I was just reminded of this. Every week without fail, there are people who are watching from the other team that are like, these announcers clearly want China Spring to win. Or how come they're showing the China Spring band and not the other band? Or why do they keep doing this? Like the page that you are on. Like, what do you expect? I really, it tickles me every time.
Do you? This is a good question for you. Do you look at the comments during the game? Never. Okay.
And that's mostly, honestly, that's mostly just focus.
Yeah.
Like, I rarely have my laptop open.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my phone. That's just,
How are you getting stats doing that game?
so we have a stats person who goes with us home and away.
Nice.
And that's when I will check my phone because he'll text us.
Yeah.
Like the pictures. So he's keeping running stats throughout the game. So basically after every drive.
Yeah. Yeah. I have tried. Like sometimes I'll look at Twitter during the game. It's never good. Well, actually, that's not true. Sometimes it is good. And no news is the best news. I had, but sometimes it's helpful. Like I had a situation, I made a mistake and called UAB the demons or the dragons. I called them the demons. Oh no, they're the Blaze. I'm sorry, see, I'm doing it again. They're the Blazers, and I called them the dragons or something. And yeah, so so I called the dragons, and it was like an ESPN2 game or ESPNU game. I was working with Tom Crean, so it was cool. And they hit me like, does somebody want to tell Pete Sousa? Like, I was like very quick to be like, and that was like the first TV timeout. So I was very quick. You don't say, hey, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. You just start calling them the freaking Blazers and you get it right. Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah. Great dude. Yeah.
I thought about asking him because one of my best friend growing up, we used to always reenact this when Christian Watford hit that buzzer beater.
Oh.
And what we would do is I would do the Big Five Battle. Unbelievable! Can't believe it!
Yeah, yeah.
My friend would do the Tom Crean because the camera cuts to Tom Crean.
Yeah.
And he's got this like scowl on his face. We just give him one of those, like to the camera, and so we used to do that all
After his team just won.
Yeah, had this intense scowl on. So I was like, I thought about asking him, can you take a picture with me when you're doing it?
Oh, he would have done it. He would have.
Next time.
He would have done it. Here's how much of an everyman he is, and this is like I kept in touch with him after the season, but this was our first person-to-person interaction. We go to practice like a shoot around during the day, and he's just the nicest, coolest guy. I mean, truly amazing. Very generous with his time. Treating me like I'm, Mike Breen. I mean, just like so cool. We walk out to the parking lot to get in our respective rental cars and drive back to the hotel, and he's like, "Oh, what? I got a flat tire." I was like, "Oh my God." And seeing guys like that who are in that like 1% category of success in whatever they've chosen to do in life, like deal with a situation like that. Very quickly though, I was like, "Coach, like I'll hang with you, I'll get it." He was like, No, I got it. Like he wasn't like calling ESPN, like, "Hey, send somebody to fix this." He was going to fix his tire like your dad or my dad or anybody else would have fixed the tire by himself with no help. And I would, I checked in with him. I was like, "Hey, are you good with everything?" Like, he's like, "Yeah, like fine." And saw him at the game and my girlfriend came and he was so cool. He was just like, he was a really, really good dude. Yeah.
I wanted to share Mike and Matt.
Dude, what are you? You're disgusting. Yeah, yeah.
Mike and the Mad Dog have one of the greatest moments in radio history, And I'm so thankful. My favorite podcaster is out of Boston that loves Mike and Mad Dog, and so he'll mention this and play this sound like all the time. But it's, you remember the movie Daredevil?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's where him and Jennifer Garner met.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this is when we come out, and Mike is saying to that, have you seen this new Daredevil movie? No, Mikey, what's that? It's about a blind superhero. Mad Dog. True story, Mikey? Fucking greatest
All right.
ever.
On the heels of that,
So unbelievable.
I want to play a clip. This was yesterday. So on their anniversary, Mike Francesa called in to Chris Russo's Sirius show. They talked for like 40 minutes. They covered everything sports, present day, and their relationship. Now, that clearly was a time you would imagine when they were vibing, like in an on-air and off-the-air way. But here's a window into how successful they were as a radio team and how they always put the show first.
I think that, we didn't, even at the end, when I left, probably unceremoniously, and you probably had wind of it, I don't think we did bad shows. I don't recall.
I don't think we ever did bad shows.
Right. I don't recall the spring of '08 where we said, geez, this show stinks. I don't recall us thinking that after those in our 19th year. How about that?
See, I don't think that. See, I really believe that was one of our best qualities. Was no matter what, if one of us had something going on in our lives that was bad, it was troubling them, or something was going on, the other one picked it up. And if something was interfering on the outside, we kept it on the outside. People don't realize there was one year, right around 99, 2000, where our fight was really bad, where we didn't talk off the air for like 6 months, and no one even knew that we were fighting.
100%.
I mean, the audience didn't know. Nobody even knew that we were fighting. But
and
we weren't even talking.
And Ro, we've said that before, Ro.
Yeah.
Your lovely wife got that straightened out because I went to that wedding and that kind of
well,
straightened
I didn't want to
out.
invite you. I wasn't going to invite you, and she invited you, and that probably saved the show for years. There's no question about it. Without any question.
Now, how great is that?
19 years. Like, we do forget about that. That's no show that successful will be 19 years.
19 years. And they said they understood
They don't
early
like it like
on
that.
because, they didn't want to partner together. And the ratings went through the roof by like the second rating book, or they were at the bottom of the barrel to start. Then they got up to third. And then they were number one with a bullet. And WFAN ripped up their contracts, gave them new ones. And they knew, hey, we're stuck with each other for a while.
Yeah.
What did you think about that sound, though?
It's great. I didn't want to invite you.
He didn't want to invite him to his
That's a
wedding.
good start.
Yeah.
That's a good start.
Well, and what about this? 6 months. For 6 months, they didn't talk to each other.
Yeah.
Like,
Which that happens to every great sports talk show.
Give
They
me
won't
some
talk off
insight.
the air.
I know you know this because I know your background. Give me some insight on Mike and Mike. What do you know about their relationship down the stretch? Because it was real bad, they said.
Yeah, I don't know too much of the inside of it. Honestly, Mike and Mike was for like days where I was in the doctor's office before going to school. Like, this is going to sound like cocky in some respects, but like we didn't listen to national radio.
Yeah. I get that being from Philly.
Because from Philly, you'd be the same
Yeah.
thing. You just, I saw this clip a few weeks ago of someone who was on with Cowherd. I don't know if he's one of his studio guys or what, but Cowherd was talking about Felger and Maz. Actually, he said, I think it's the best local sports talk show in America. And this guy was like, really? In America? And Cowherd's like, come on.
It was
Like,
probably Jason McIntyre.
And he was like, I don't even know. I don't know. He's like, local radio, like that's bigger in markets like that. And he was like, I wouldn't know. I never did local radio. I only did national radio. And I'm like, you're kind of a loser. Like, you know what I mean? I guess you're not, but like people who just do national radio all the time, like you're not important to anybody in that sense. You know what I mean? Like, but when you grow up listening to the stations in Philly, like everyone knows who those people are.
Oh man.
And it's probably not the same nowadays, but absolutely, when I was growing up, like these guys were celebrities.
And they,
Dennis and Callahan,
and they started to
Glenn
make a lot of
Ordway.
money too.
Yes, a lot of money in the 2000s, man. So I just find that so funny. Of like, oh, I only do national radio. Like, really? What show? I don't even know who this guy is. I
Jason
don't know.
McIntyre. He had, I think,
Sure.
if it's who I think he is, he reads the news for Cowherd. I think if it's who I think it is.
Wow.
But he's he's very wealthy. He owned that website called The Big Lead, and he sold it for a bunch of money. That's and I could be wrong there, but
I'm gonna reinforce my loser statement
I'm pretty sure that I'm right.
as I drive the company van home.
Local radio. Have you
Yeah.
and Mosley ever had a time? By the way, speaking of the Cowherd show, Matt
Big
Mosley's been
Mosley
on
guy.
there.
Yeah, I can't say anything about. I put out a thing
Mosley's
about
been on there
Cowherd.
in person, which is like
I know.
that's
I've
a
put
big
out
deal.
I've put out some, I guess, anti-Cowherd videos on my camp show, and Mosley's like, what's your problem with Cowherd? No,
What is your problem with Cowherd?
It's just it's the same problem I have with any national guy.
Yeah.
So the one I went off about him was he was talking about early days of Patriots training camp, and he said, like, except for the years that Moss was there, they never had an offensive culture. And he starts using these words. He's like, they were never fun, innovative, joy. That's the Chiefs. I'm like, what even is this? This is utter horseshit. Like, you're thinking of it as we are going here. You have no point. You're trying to make one as you go. And so I laid out all these numbers. I'm like, they were better right after Moss left offensively. Like, they were top 5, top 10 the next 10 years after Moss left. Like, what are you even talking about? None of this makes sense. Oh, but they're not fun, Colin. They're not fun. Like Patrick Mahomes skipping around. Like, what the fuck is that? That's a national radio thing. We're just going to, I know a little bit about this team. I know that Belichick was a defensive head coach, so I'm going to say they never cared about offense.
But Cam, he's got a job to do. He's national radio.
No, that's the thing. It's not even necessarily
I agree.
Cowherd.
I agree.
hate his promos, how he's like, oh, I don't root for the underdogs. I like excellence. Like, congrats.
I do. I understand what you're saying, because the national guy, a lot of times, just like I don't, when I just talked about the Chiefs, and I'm understanding that, like, if God willing, there's somebody that would ever live in Kansas City that would absorb the local content on the daily and know the team, they're probably sitting there like, what? That's why I try to talk about like what I saw and it's dangerous.
That's why I'm terrified when we talk about the Cowboys on the Mosley Show. I like to think I do my research, and when we're getting into these, I'll watch every game, but I'm not a Cowboys fan. I don't follow this team religiously. And so it's even something like, I barely followed them last year.
Yeah.
Like, what if I have to recall something to that? Or we're talking Dak's contract. I don't know what his
Do you
last
get
one
nervous?
was. Absolutely, man. Like, I will hold back a ton. And like, to me, growing up such a diehard sports fan of one city, it's like, that's a disservice to talk about the Cowboys as if I'm an expert. I'm fucking not. And I don't care to be honest with you. I do my homework, as I know I'm trying to be professional about it, but I don't even want to watch the Cowboys game.
I do. We got to take a break. We're coming back with the Survivor pool, and then we'll get out of here. So we got a break right now. Zach's back in the big chair. Zach, take us away.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
back. We are back. Again, that is Zach Burke on the Wheels of Steel. Like to thank our sponsors, right? Crawford Austin Realty, Socorro Family Ford of West, and of course, Slovacics of West, Daniel Stark, injury lawyers. Those people are awesome. And D1, like to thank them too. All right, let's get into the Survivor Series. Of course, we can't find Mike, which is like so.
He's ducking this. He doesn't want to be
so
part of
on
this.
brand.
He's a busy guy. He's doing busy guy things.
These two
also
guys.
Survivor Series. I mean, like,
So you like that?
Did they release a trailer for the?
Yes, they did for Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon. We're going to talk about that next week. We're going to get in the weeds on that one because I am so interested. Zach, what's your biggest point of excitement for that coming out?
That I think he's about to get absolutely buried.
And
I'm excited for it.
And this is a really good, if you liked some of those, this is like Bill Simmons is behind this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
the guy, one of the guys who did Tiger King 2 is one of the executive producers. Yeah.
Anything?
I couldn't give a shit less about wrestling, man.
Oh, it's wrestling's awesome, dude. Is this Mike?
I mean, here we go.
Okay. All right, Mike.
Mike can't appear on camera, of course, but
no. Well, how's he gonna
just put up a picture of Wolfman Jack?
Yeah.
All right, he can always
like
talk
move my
to us.
stuff.
All right, Zach, you are up first.
Okay.
With the first pick in this year's Rogue Media Survivor Pool.
I'm going with the team that I knew I would not pick again probably the rest of the year, and that's what I feel like you should do with at least the first week is get a team out of the way that I don't have to worry about anymore, and that would be the Seattle Seahawks. I think that against the Broncos, they're almost a touchdown favorite. I don't trust Geno Smith really that far through the season. They're not a playoff team. So I want to use the pool of other teams that are out there later when I have a tougher week. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks for week 1.
The Seattle Seahawks for Zach Burke. I think that's a pretty good pick. All right, now I am up, right? Yeah, it's me. All right, my pick, I am going to take
I came prepared.
I'm getting to week 2. I like the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm taking the Bengals over Cam's Patriots. I like Cincinnati. All right, let's go over to you. Mike Hamilton, you're third.
It's me?
Yeah.
All
I
right,
can hear you in the headphones too. Great job, Zach.
I'm gonna go with Detroit over the Rams.
That's a good pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought about that.
I mean, it's solid,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a good chance. It's in Detroit.
Well, and they're minus
And
5.5.
The
or
Rams can
4.5.
suck it. So there
Yeah.
you go.
Kelly Stafford will not be there.
Oh, well,
There you go.
that's
See?
good for
That's
Matt,
it.
right?
We did it. Never
We
forget,
did.
guys. Did it.
Never forget.
Like the
Oh, you're going against the whole narrative of, well, I guess he's already been back and played Detroit before, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Never
yeah,
mind.
that's over.
Yeah.
Very little fanfare. There you go, Detroit.
Another
my
Highland Park
turn?
guy. I talked about Chad.
Morris?
Go ahead. Yeah. Chandler Morris. Go ahead.
Chandler Morris, sir.
I will be picking the Kansas City Chiefs.
No,
I
I
don't
don't
think
do
you
that. I
can do
can't
that.
believe I looked. I was like, who do they play?
Was that part of the
Oh,
rules?
Who
That
they
is part of the
play?
rules. Yeah, those are the rules.
You can't do that. Come on, dude.
Bullshit.
Now,
man.
because you said that, and you now have to take the Cardinals.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
I was just gonna go against whoever won against the Patriots, man. I was just gonna do that. I was gonna go Patriots opponent.
We
every
can't do
week.
it this week.
But you can't.
I
beat
know. I
Cincinnati.
can't. I can't. You
Yeah.
stole that from me.
It's a very
You'll rue the day.
detailed game.
Corey will like your Seattle pick.
Is this what they call a snake draft?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
Because I think we're just
We're
doing one
only one
round.
round.
That's what they call
And
stupid.
none of us picked any snakes.
Yeah.
So
I'm picking the Chargers.
Oh, good
You're
job.
taking the Chargers. So
Who do they
you
even
like
Chargers on who?
I don't
The
know.
Los-
Someone who's asked. Who are they
the
playing?
Los Angeles
The
Chargers
Raiders.
are taking
Oh yeah,
on
that's a
the
decent
Raiders.
Picking the
pick.
Chargers.
And like I've
Week
said
one, new
before,
head coach.
that is a game I'll never watch. I hate that division. I don't
Oh.
know why. I can't give you a concrete reason as to
Hate
why I
the
hate the
AFC
AFC
West.
West. I'd hate it.
I love the Raiders, like just as an organization. That's another thing that will probably drive Cam crazy. But I love the
I
Raiders.
mean,
and
but like, why?
What city are they in now?
they're in Las Vegas.
Oh,
and I
okay.
love
All
the
right,
Raiders.
got it.
You want to know why? Because
Because they were good 40 years ago.
I mean, really, yeah, because I was raised on like NFL films where the Raiders were bad as shit, and they were basically like a bunch of cartoon characers who to me
Yeah,
were.
I love when they I love when
villains.
they paralyzed a Patriot. I thought that was really cool.
Jack Tatum, Daryl Stingley.
Daryl Stingley.
That was by the way,
And then Jack Tatum is like, I'm going to go apologize to him. Let's bring the TV cameras
that
in.
was a preseason game. He did that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Preseason game. He basically, but football was a different sport back then too. It was.
I'm looking forward to this season. The game last night was fantastic,
Mhm.
and I did not want to watch that game. But
Did you watch it?
I did. I watched.
Even though it included an AFC West team.
Well, and that's the thing, right? AFC West.
Begrudgingly.
Listen, AFC West team and a
Mike,
team
you're
that
so
took my
full of
running
shit.
back.
I hate that division.
Oh, yeah.
So I had 2 strikes.
So did
right?
you
The
root for
AFC West
anybody?
team and Derrick Henry is now there.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to watch it at all. But no, I really wasn't rooting for anybody. But I have this deep-seated hatred for the Ravens. I've never
why do
liked
you
them.
hate the
Who
Ravens?
do you like? That's all I keep hearing.
I like
that
my
you hate
team.
the AFC
My
West.
team's good.
The Titans?
I like them.
Okay, you should have stopped with
They're good in my
I
heart.
don't hate my team
They're good
because
in my
my
heart.
team is good is a lie.
Yeah. So you like the Titans, and that's it.
Yeah, I've never been a guy who follows multiple teams.
Dude,
Yeah.
we had.
I mean, now I do root for the Niners now when they're not playing us, and that's only
Us.
because
he's an us guy. I forgot about that.
Well, it's only because
bro like us, Pete.
it's
Yeah.
only
Didn't realize
because
Dave South joined us.
yeah.
it's
Old
only
school
because my daughter-in-law is a big 49ers fan, and I like her. So there
Okay.
you go. Yeah.
When
everybody
you,
else
I
in
know.
everybody else in my family or in my life are Cowboy fans, and I refuse to do that.
When are you headed to Chicago?
Huh? When am I going to Chicago?
Us. The Titans are there.
Oh
this
yeah.
week.
Well, I sent them an honorarium. It's fun. I sent them a check earlier in the week. It's good. They're
Pete,
gonna be able to get some sandwiches.
I threw this out to Mike earlier as we were talking about that hockey question I had for Zach. If you couldn't play for your favorite
Yeah.
team, who would it be?
Huh?
And my girlfriend going through this exercise, she loves Gritty, the Flyers mascot.
Oh yeah.
What?
So she said I would do the Flyers, and I hate the Flyers. And I went as far as saying, if we had a son that played for this team, I still wouldn't wear their logo.
Really?
And so we were going over what those teams would be.
Would you wear just an orange shirt though with nothing on it? and be
Yeah, I'd wear
"This
like
is
his high
close"?
school or college or
Yeah.
something.
That's like,
I no way.
Kelsey's
Yankees, Canadians,
Canadians.
probably the Lakers. Like I just could never, ever. No.
Jason, I called Travis Kelsey Jason Kelsey earlier, by the way. It just crossed my mind. Jason Kelsey's wife. She's from Narberth, like a suburb of
She's
Philadelphia.
single.
Huh?
It's his wife.
His
Probably
wife.
not.
They're married. So Jason Kelsey's wife,
They're open.
seem
So
happy.
it's fun. Yeah.
she wouldn't. She talked openly about like she would not be able to cheer for Jason if he was with another team because she's that hardcore.
Yeah,
Philadelphia.
didn't they go to the Super Bowl and she didn't wear any Chiefs
Yeah.
stuff?
Uh-huh.
Like
yeah.
I respect that, man. You still
Yeah.
go and support, but like I couldn't do that.
How much time we got, Zach?
About a minute.
Can I talk about one thing here?
Of course.
If it's your
Can-
daughter-in-law again, I swear.
Can
to
we
God.
talk about the Jacksonville Miami game and who gets to live in the trailer afterwards? I mean,
That's
that
a good
just
question.
I
Don't say that to our security guard.
I can't take
downstairs.
that with
One-
the Florida games.
Really?
Yeah.
One team there
Don't
has
care.
talent, and then the other one's the Jags.
What's
So-
wrong with Jacksonville and Miami?
Jacksonville's in our division,
Okay.
so screw them. Plus, they got that quarterback that
Second
looks like
worst
he's
division.
just looking for somebody to punch him in the face. And then
It's Trevor Lawrence.
Miami, everybody talks them up, and they're never any good.
They were decent last year.
Decent.
I can agree with Mike
Again.
here. I went over
Again.
this, man.
In the Bible, it says, "If I'm lukewarm, I'll spit you out."
That's true,
Right?
But decent's
So that's
better
Miami.
They
than
played on the
lukewarm.
road in the divisional round, Zach.
I like
Hey,
Mike
all
McDaniel.
that talent.
I just want y'all to know.
They're still probably going to win the division. This
I just
year.
want y'all to know I'm the only one in this room that brought the Bible into the conversation.
I was there.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're the most God-fearing of all of us,
Yeah.
I would say.
Totally provincial once again.
Yeah.
I like Mike McDaniel because he's sober, so I always kind of pull for Miami quietly. He's got a cool story.
I don't
Former
mind
Texan
Miami.
coach,
Vape
too.
on the sideline too.
Hey, he's a former Texan coach too, so I got to support him.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Oh,
See, he's an us.
Yeah.
Come on.
I didn't say us. I just said he's a former
Yeah,
Texan.
but
so-
come
no,
on.
I've never said
That's
us.
still an us.
No, it's not. They're the team that I root for. I don't play for them. I don't have a jersey of them. I don't have a locker.
Cam Stewart, by the way, tonight we'll be doing China Spring. You can see
Yeah.
that on the Rogue Media Network YouTube page.
He
Right,
did a
Mike?
great job last
Did a
week.
great job last week.
Excellent job.
I will not
Bros,
say
what do
we.
you guys have a show? Bros and Hoes or something?
Bros, foes, and heroes. We
Bros,
talk
Foes,
comic
and
books.
Heroes.
You mean
Check
one of the
that
most
out.
popular shows on the network? Yeah, we got that.
Yeah.
Why did I mention it? Why did I mention it? These guys, they do these shorts where I'm trying to get blood from a stone, putting mine out there. These guys get like 10 million hits on their
Yeah,
shorts.
we're doing
Yeah.
okay.
So congratulations.
Okay.
And remember, There's a podcast here called The Payoff. If you have
There's
any-
also a podcast here called Bois.
Bo-
Yeah.
Mike, now you're getting greedy.
Yeah.
All right?
I
There's,
need-
al-
I need
there's
to
also
do-
one called Found Sound.
and
there's
it
one
feels like you're
Swimmers
gloating
Ear.
because those are both very
Swimmer's
good.
Ear.
Yeah.
I need
Yeah.
to do an extra podcast so I can tease one at the end.
The camp
Yeah.
show.
I don't
How
have
about
enough
that?
going on during the
Yeah, you need more
football season,
podcasts.
so I
Yeah.
think I need to do that.
Maybe it ought to be about that.
I'm
Just about how tired you
Just
are from
me
the football
complaining
season.
all
You
the
just come in and
time.
go, oh my God, I'm so
Good
tired.
How
Lord.
would that be? How would camp complaining be any different than camp show now?
every
Can't
day.
complain.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be about sports.
Okay.
It would be about personal stuff. Yeah.
I'm telling you, the
Take
one
my
where I get
girlfriend,
high and
please.
watch bad movies.
Yeah.
That has to be
Mystery
there.
Science.
For a lot of
Fever
people, that's
3000.
not complaining. That's just downright fun.
No, that's what
Sure.
I'm saying. That would be the other podcast idea.
Okay,
like
yeah.
that would be that's
I do
only
like-
that's
I-
pretty much the only thing I get
I
enjoyment
got
out of life
Cam
from
High
anymore.
texting me last night while he was watching the
Yeah.
documentary. I consider myself very
we
honored.
we could do a bad sports movie. There's plenty of those.
Yeah,
You know?
we
ESPN
talked
one?
about one
Watch along.
yesterday.
Yeah, we talked
Yeah.
about a national championship.
What do you think about
He
Miracle?
was like, "Remember how bad this
Great, that
movie
was good.
was?
You like
Wait,
the movie
Yeah,
Miracle?
Miracle was great.
Yeah.
That's
Did you
a
like
great
it?
movie. Yeah,
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Mike's
great
gonna
gameplay and very
Just wondering.
historically accurate.
we're gonna get out of here. Mike's gonna move to Russia, and because he doesn't like Miracle.
That's where they don't like Miracle.
Yeah, and that's about it. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Be safe. We'll be back here Monday.
USSR.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
We are Rogue Media Sports.